Thanks. I've never chaired a meeting ever in my life. That's not true.
In that case, it's like riding a bicycle.
Okay, I will call to order the October 25th, 2023 meeting of the Local Agency Formation Commission at 2:32. We are meeting in the San Mateo County Board chambers as well as Zoom for the public. At this point, the clerk will explain how both written and spoken public comments can be made by attendees of this meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chair Martin. For members of the public, the instructions of how to participate in today's meeting may be found on the published agenda. These instructions provide information on how to submit written comments and how to participate on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed with item 1. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Big Stick.
Present.
Commissioner Chang Corrali. Commissioner Mueller.
Here.
Commissioner Warback.
Here.
Commissioner Slocum.
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Here. Vice
Chair Martin.
Here.
And absent today is Chair Draper, and staff is represented by Executive Officer Rob Bartoli, Management Analyst Sophia Ricaldi, and Legal Counsel Timothy Fox. Thank you.
Are any of the alternates on Zoom?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Okay, now we'll move on to item 2 and open public comments for items not on the agenda and on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I will first call upon members on Zoom, followed by anyone in person. And on Zoom, please raise your hand, or you could press *9 if you're calling by phone. But at this time, Madam Chair, we do not have any virtual hands raised or anyone wishing to speak in chambers. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now close the public comment for items not on the agenda. Item 3 will now move to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar will be considered as one unless any commissioner would like to discuss one of the items. Approval of the action minutes. I would like to pull that for a couple of typos. And consideration of LAFCo file number 2307. Do any of the other commissioners wish to hold that one? Okay. There's a typo of my name in the minutes. No, there's an N in Martin. It says M-A-R-T-I.
You have a page?
I did. It's right at the beginning.
It's page 1 on the agenda.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, no, fussy. Sorry. Do we have a motion for item 3? From one of the commissioners?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Harvey. We will now.
Thank you. So that was a motion by Commissioner Big Stick and a second by Commissioner Harvey. So Commissioner Big Stick?
Yes.
Commissioner Mueller?
Yes.
Commissioner Warback?
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Okay, let's move on to item 4, which is consideration of the final municipal service review for the city of Burlingame. Here's Virginia. We'll give her a moment to get here. Let the record show that Commissioner Corrali is present. Rob, you want to take it over?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, item 4 is the consideration of the final municipal service review for the city of Burlingame. The draft circulation version of this municipal service review was brought to the commission in October. Again, this municipal service reviews are really intended to kind of serve as a tool to help LAFCo and public agencies better understand the services that those agencies are provided, and they're also intended to support spheres of influence updates. Very briefly, because you've seen most of this information before. City of Burlingame was incorporated in 1908, approximately 30,000 residents. It has an unincorporated area of the Burlingame Hills and a few parcels along the Skyline Boulevard corridor adjacent to 280. And while the city provides most of the services to the incorporated area, it does receive fire protection from Central County Fire Department, which is a joint powers authority between the city of Burlingame and the town of Hillsborough. This, just for reference, is a map of the area of the city of Burlingame and the unincorporated area of the sphere of influence. Again, the darker orange of Burlingame city limits, and the lighter yellow is the unincorporated area within its sphere. This is, again, just a map, again, highlighting the unincorporated area that is surrounded by the city of Burlingame and town of Hillsborough. Key issues within the report, just to highlight them again. The city's revenue is slowly recovering from the pandemic. However, the city still has a lower TOT or transit occupancy tax related to hotels. It has not returned to pre-pandemic levels as of yet. But the city is able to meet existing service needs and has plans in place to address structural deficiencies. In the final version of the MSR, there were three major updates that we had from public comment during the comment period for the circulation draft. So this included additional information regarding the potential benefits of the city of Burlingame regarding annexation of unincorporated Burlingame Hills. So as identified in the draft Burlingame Hills Sewer Maintenance District plan that the Department of County Public Works has created from the county, one of the options was the annexation of Burlingame Hills to the city. That is, this is then serving those unincorporated islands in a more efficient manner and could create some it inherently creates service inefficiencies by having this island be served by the county. And so LAFCo supports any further moving forward in this direction of unincorporated islands being annexed to their identified cities. So while there could be benefits to the county, there could also be benefits to the city and to residents. For residents, it could include economies of scale regarding sewer services, helping minimize sewer rates in the future. Annexation of the Burlingame Hills could also potentially create a fiscal break even for the city's budget, depending on how the property tax sharing and negotiation was to occur between the county and the city if those areas were to annex to the city of Burlingame. Again, we are supportive of those island annexations, and this would potentially be one, but there is no proposal at this time from the city or the county or the residents of the Burlingame Hills regarding annexation of this area. We did also include additional information about potential loss of or reduction of ERAF to the city's budget within the report, and then also highlighted that the city is participant with One Shoreline, and they're currently working on a project with the city of Burlingame, city of Millbrae, regarding flooding and sea level rise along the bayshore. Again, these are the recommendations and determinations in the various categories. This is regarding public facilities and services. There have been no changes to these determinations and recommendations. As we have noted in the report, the city is able to meet existing service needs and does have a plan in place to address known infrastructure deficiencies. And they're also working with Central County Fire regarding a recent risk assessment document that was created. And again, we encourage the city and the county to continue to explore potential opportunities for either shared services or changes in governance, such as annexation related to the Burlingame Hills Sewer Maintenance District and the Burlingame Hills unincorporated area. Again, for financial ability and shared services within their city, the city is working on maintaining its current levels of service as costs continue to rise. They have established, though, CalPERS stabilization reserves and other post-benefit internal service funds to address ongoing liabilities. And the city and staff are dedicated to prudent fiscal management based on our review. The city has comprehensive policies in place regarding fiscal and transparency issues. City council meetings are accessible online and in person, and the city routinely adopts budgets and audits in a timely manner. And they also are engaged with activities to address natural hazard mitigation and sea level rise, and we recommend that the city continues with those efforts. We did hold a public workshop on October 3rd for both the city of Burlingame and the town of Hillsborough draft MSRs. There was no written public comment received during the public comment period. We did have 2 comments at the workshop, and those really were touching on having additional language about annexation and potential benefits to the city or to the residents within the report. And so those comments were incorporated in the staff report and the final version of the MSR. So the recommendation then is to open the public hearing, accept public comment, and then accept the final municipal service review for the city of Burlingame, and then adopt the municipal service review determinations and recommendations that are contained within the report. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report, Rob. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments with regard to this issue? I think this is our 3rd go around on this report, isn't it?
Second.
Is it just the second?
It was just last month, though,
like
so it was a quick turnaround.
Okay. Well, if there are no questions from the commissioners, we will now open the public comment period for this item. Angela?
Thank you. We do have 1 virtual hand raised on Zoom. So I will first call on John Keller. Go ahead.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, very good. My name is John Keller. I'm the Vice President of the Burlingame Hills Improvement Association, which is the neighborhood group for the unincorporated area of Burlingame Hills. This is the first that we have known about the potential discussion of annexation of Burlingame Hills. And annexation has been discussed off and on in the last about 15 years. And it would be fair to say that the community in Burlingame Hills is vehemently opposed to annexation. We don't have a significant group of people organized for today's meeting to give greater voice to that. But I think it would be important for everyone present here, live or on Zoom, to understand that the community is quite opposed to annexation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. And with that, Madam Chair, we have no further hands raised for item 4.
Okay, thank you. We will now close the public comment for item number 4. And we will now begin a commission discussion for item 3 if there are any comments from anyone. Commissioner Bigstein.
Just wanted to follow up on the comment we just heard and ask of staff, what would be the process if Burlingame Hills were to be annexed to Burlingame? The quick version.
The quick version is that would need to come to this commission by either the property owners or registered voters of the Burlingame Hills area or the city of Burlingame or another affected agency. LAFCo cannot initiate annexations. That would, if there was an annexation proposal that came before the commission, that would be then a series of hearings and a separate action from the municipal service that we're hearing today. So while there's a recommendation in there to explore either changes or potential annexations, this report does not start that process. That would be a completely different set of applications and hearings that we need to go.
And to the best of your knowledge, are either party considering annexation at this time?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay, thank you very much.
Rob, you're not on.
Oh, Rob and Sophia, thanks so much for a great report. Did y'all talk to the Burlingame Hills Homeowners Association when you did this report? I mean,
Yes, so we did do outreach to the Burlingame Hills Association.
And what was their response? Because if this president is saying that this is the first time they're hearing about it.
We did not hear any response from the district other than acknowledging that they received our email with the report.
Is there going to be any kind of communication to let them know what the process is? As Tiger had mentioned, that this doesn't start this annexation process. I don't want them to be concerned that we're going to be doing that.
We'll follow up with both the city, the county, and then the district, the homeowners association, and let them know this is the outcome of the report, but it's just a recommendation. There's no process about annexation at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners have comments, questions? Okay. Do I have a motion on item number 4?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you. That was a move by Commissioner Big Stick and a second by Commissioner Barback. Commissioner Big Stick,
Yes.
Commissioner Chen Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Barback,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Okay, now we'll move to item number 5, consideration of the final municipal service review for the town of Hillsborough. Sophie, I think you're going to present
I'm
this
going to present. All right. So, Town of Hillsborough was incorporated on May 15th, 1910. And as of 2020, the population is a little over 11,000 residents. The land use or the land area spans approximately 6.23 square miles, most of which is residential with the exception of the town hall and fire and police stations and schools. The town provides most municipal services to the residents, the notable exception being fire protection and emergency medical services, which are provided by the Central County Fire Department. Oops. This map shows the boundaries and sphere of influence for the town of Hillsborough. The sphere of influence is coterminous with the town boundaries, and staff is not recommending any changes to the sphere of influence at this time. Between the draft and final MSRs, several minor updates were made based on some comments received during the virtual community workshop and the public comment period. The most significant change is related to the impact of potential loss or significant reduction of excess ERAF to the general fund revenue, and I'll discuss that more later in the presentation. Okay, so starting with growth and population determination recommendation, the town recently submitted a revised housing element draft to HCD, which proposes to increase the housing stock by 605 units, which represents a potential 15% increase over the next decade, if realized. The town does not foresee this having a significant impact on the agency's service needs and demands, and is planning on amending its general plan once the housing element is adopted to ensure consistency with the housing element. No recommendations there, nor are there any recommendations to this disadvantaged unincorporated communities component because there are none in the town of Hillsborough. Regarding capacity and adequacy of public facilities and services, the town provides a range of municipal services, law enforcement, parks and rec, street maintenance, lighting, water, wastewater collection, etc. Fire protection and emergency medical services are provided by Central County Fire District, as noted earlier. LAFCo staff did not identify any deficiencies in the town's capacity to meet existing services for which the agency does not have a plan to resolve. And it seems that the town will be able to meet its future service needs with infrastructure improvements and other mitigation measures. The two main recommendations in the report are that the town partner with the city of Burlingame to review the recommendations that were outlined in the Central County Fire Department Community Risk Assessment and plan for the recommended capital improvements. The second significant recommendation is related to infrastructure improvements. Hillsborough is aware that its infrastructure is aging and in need of capital improvements, replacements, and repairs. And every year the town adopts a 5-year capital improvement plan. So the town is thinking about the improvements that need to be made and how to fund them. The town's water and sewer system capital improvements are funded through their respective enterprise funds, but the storm drain improvements are funded through using the general fund revenue. The town is thinking about conducting an analysis to determine if a storm drainage fee or other dedicated funding source could be used to alleviate reliance on the general fund revenue, and LAFCo staff is encouraging that they conduct that analysis. Regarding financial ability, overall, the town is in a really good financial position. It engages in a comprehensive budget preparation process. Its revenue has bounced back since COVID-19, increasing year upon year. Over the years, the town has implemented several strategies to mitigate the long-term cost of pension and other post-employment benefits, including paying off $9.9 million of side-funded liabilities, requiring employees to pay a share of the employer's contribution, and funding a pension trust. The town updates its master fee schedule annually and conducts rate studies every few years. Over the past decade, the town has faced 2 legal challenges when it comes to raising its water rates and fees, both of which have been settled, and the town has recently adopted a new water rate schedule that is being reviewed by the courts. At the last meeting, I didn't update the slide, but at the last meeting, the commissioners directed staff to go back to the town and ask about what they view the impact of a loss of excess ERAF, how that would impact their budget. And Hillsborough responded by acknowledging that excess ERAF represents about 8.5% of their general fund, that those funds are used to support their ongoing operations and projects for key services, and that a loss, a significant reduction or a loss would have a big impact. So the town, in anticipation of potential loss, the town has forecasted a 5 to 6% reduction in excess ERAF in their budget over the next several years. Regarding shared services and facilities, LAFCo couldn't identify any additional opportunities for shared services and facilities. And same with accountability, structure, and efficiencies. Their city council meetings and financial documents are accessible to the public. The town complies with disclosure laws and the Brown Act. The town hasn't reported any staff turnover or operational efficiencies. And finally, with other issues, as we discussed at the last meeting, there is this unusual situation in the area of El Cerrito Avenue where several parcels are split by the town of Hillsborough and city of San Mateo city boundary line. And so in the future, the city and town may wish to consider submitting an application to adjust the town city boundary so that it aligns with the parcel lines. And finally, the LAFCo staff sees that the town is engaged in activities to address natural hazard mitigation and sea level rise, and staff recommends that they continue to do so. The public outreach and comment period was the same as for the city of Burlingame. We conducted a virtual workshop on October 3rd. There were no comments received specific to Burlingame, and no written public comment was received. So the recommendation is to open the public hearing, accept public comment, and accept the final municipal service review for the town of Hillsborough and adopt the MSR determinations and recommendations contained in the report.
Thank you for that report, Sophie. Do we have any questions of staff from the commission? Jim?
On page 105, there's wording that also appears elsewhere about the county fire. It says at the bottom of this, the analysis made several recommendations to plan for the future facility construction and capital facility and apparatus improvements that will require significant funding. Is this anything that we should be concerned about? Is there a risk here?
Commissioner O'Neill. So that is referring to the Central County Fire District's risk assessment that they have done, and they're identifying their capital needs. So right now, the Central County Fire is a joint powers authority between the city of Burlingame and the town of Hillsborough. So any cost for capital improvements would need to come from those two agencies. And that is our recommendation in the MSRs for both Burlingame and Hillsborough, is that they work with Central County Fire to implement and plan for what those capital projects will need to be, so that they can have adequate capital to provide to undertake those projects and plan for them in a fiscally prudent way. So that is our recommendation now. Certainly something that if we do another MSR on either of these agencies, that we can look at in the future what their progress is. But I don't know if there's an immediate issue that has come up, and certainly the city and the town are both aware of those issues.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one, and I think it's just a typo, but on page 152 of the LAFCo report, in the responses from the town, under financial ability, in paragraph 4, the very end, it says, these funds, as well as any unclaimed refund checks, will go to the established Cypress Fund. Is that a tree fund? Or what is that?
It's a term of art from trust law. It comes from the French, but I can't tell you what it means. I don't think I've thought about it since law school, which is a long time ago.
I forgot.
But yeah, the word, it's not a typo. It is in fact a cypre. I don't.
Cypre.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can look it up though.
Okay, that'd be nice. Okay. We can move on as you do that.
Oh, okay. Now I remember. It's a legal doctrine that just has to do with whether or not the purposes for which the money is set aside are close enough to the purpose for which they're going to be expended. So it gives some latitude about this, that it's a kind of trust where you have some latitude about what you can spend it on.
Kind of like Measure K money. Okay, thank you for looking that up, Council. Okay. Thank you, commissioners, for your comments. Now we will open the public comment period for item number 5. Have anybody wait?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have nobody wishing to speak in chambers, and at this time there are no virtual hands raised for this item.
Thank you. We will now close the public comment period for item number 5. Do I have a motion to approve?
I did want to make a comment.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't have a question, but so much as a comment. I actually wanted to lighten the mood by saying this is probably the only opportunity in my life I've had a reason to use the term coterminous, which excites me to no end. English major. And also I just wanted to take a moment to say I think each one of these MSRs takes something like 3 months worth of work, and I do want to appreciate the staff and the staff work that goes into these. I had checked in with staff ahead of time on packet page 118. It's page 6 of the report. There's a chart and under utilities, electricity for the Burlingame chart, it both lists PG&E and PCE. presumably because the infrastructure lies with PG&E, but the electricity itself is coming from PCE. I thought it might be appropriate to amend the chart in this report similarly to how it was in Burlingame's. And so if the maker of the motion would take that amendment into the motion, I'd be much obliged.
Sure, happy to do that.
Cool.
So I'm the motion based on changes chart.
What was that? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't want to embarrass you. Didn't want the building to fall on us. Okay, are there any other comments? Okay. Of course, now I'm lost. Do I have a motion for this item?
Oh, I'll be happy to second.
Virginia, you made the motion. Did you get that?
Yes,
Okay.
Commissioner
must-
Chincarelli was a motion maker of the motion and Commissioner Big Stick second. So Commissioner Big Stick,
Yes.
Commissioner Chincarelli, Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Barback,
Yeah.
Commissioner Slocum, Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 7, or excuse me, number 6. Which is a report only for information with regard to the Broadmoor Police Protection
Yes,
Special
thank you,
District.
Thank you, Chair. So as the commission has requested, we'll have updates at all of our commission meetings on the Broadmoor Police Protection District. This is the update for the month of October. Since we last met in September, on September 20th, there was then a request made by Supervisor Canepa's office to the Board of Supervisors regarding the allocation of a one-time grant to the Broadmoor Police Protection District in the amount of $750,000. And that was for the continued operations of the district. On October 17th, the Board of Supervisors then deliberated on that request regarding that potential one-time grant. The Board of Supervisors continued the item to November 7th. Summarizing from the meeting, some Board of Supervisors members had concerns about the oversight and accountability of those funds. The Board of Supervisors also had questions about whether the district was going to file bankruptcy during that time for a file Chapter 9 bankruptcy. And there was also questions about fiscal plans for the district, which per BPBD, they currently do not have in place. There was also discussion and conversation regarding the creation of an oversight body or committee regarding this particular grant and its allocation. And there was more discussion that seemed to be desired by the board to actually put additional plans in place. There was also discussion about potentially phasing these funds to the district in different amounts, say $250,000. But at the time, again, the item was continued to allow for additional discussion. At the end, as the end of September, the BPPD had a fund balance of $151,000 and will likely, based on the amount they have been spending on a monthly basis, will have a zero fund balance prior to December 1. LAFCo staff does not anticipate that the district will receive additional funds prior to their property tax allocation in December. So at some point, they will have a zero fund balance prior to that date, potentially at the end of this month. While Broadmoor has not yet filed for bankruptcy, in conversations with Chief Connolly from Broadmoor, they are still in conversation with their bankruptcy counsel. And Broadmoor is currently looking at the November 2024 election for potential property tax measure. As part of the Measure K request staff report, there was then a list of following actions that the district had taken to reduce spending. I won't read through all of them, but to highlight a couple of these items, they produced already down two full-time police officer positions. A commander position has been reduced to a part-time position. Administrative staff and investigation staff has been furloughed or suspended. And then there's been reduction of some staff time from full-time to part-time staff. And so they have been working on building volunteers and reserve officer programs, but those are still very much in progress. So, and again, we'll continue to follow any updates that the district may have. We'll have another update in November for action either from the Board of Supervisors or from the district's meeting in November. And we will provide another update at that time. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if Chief Connolly is available on Zoom or not, if there's any questions for him, but I'd be happy to try to answer questions if there are questions from LAFCo staff.
Thank you very much for that update.
I should also note as well, there is public comment that was submitted from Chair Draper that is online and in the record.
Thank you. I was going to ask you to make sure it's in the minutes as well. Okay. Do any of the commissioners have questions?
I do. And I called you earlier today and then went about doing my own research, but I'm going to ask you on the record. There was an independent auditor's report due by the Broadmoor District as of June 30th, 2023. And is that completed yet?
So the last audit that LAFCo has of it that has been made available to us is for the fiscal year ending 2021. So I believe they were in progress on their audit for fiscal year ending 2022. I have seen references of that in some correspondence with Chief Connolly, but I have not seen a completed audit for that fiscal year. So the last audit that we have from the district is for fiscal year 2021.
Okay. I have the one. I have the one from 2021 to 2022 that I can share with you.
Okay.
So I will share that with you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yeah, just a second. Oh, it is the information, so we're not voting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nothing I've heard at this meeting or from the Board of Supervisors report or reading Chair Draper's analysis gives me any more hope that the district is fiscally responsible. And now these measures that they've taken have not only shown that they can't really provide the kind of public safety that the district requires. I will just continue to say that I think the only sensible way that this district can continue is if they're dissolved, and my recommendation would be to have the city of Daly City incorporate them. So I've said this before, nothing I've learned changes my mind about that. So thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
There is one thing that I was surprised at just off the top when I received the audit report today, and that's that it was completed in May. And so I am curious why, if it was completed in May, it has not yet been provided to LAFCo staff, given that during this entire time period, we've been asking for documents and materials. So I'll turn that over to you, but I will note that for the record.
Just to clarify, you're talking about the 21-22 audit?
Yes.
And that you just got this in May of 2023, correct? Okay. I just want to make sure I get the
fiscal year. It's an audit ending for the fiscal year June 30th, 2022, and it was completed in May of 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Are there any other questions of staff? Go ahead.
Dovetailing off of one of Harvey's comments, looking at the amount of staff positions they're getting rid of. I wonder if there are efforts to reduce OT or for not, because as a result of eliminating staff, they might have to add more overtime. And it worries me that coverage is diminishing when the whole point is that the community likes the coverage. That was more comment than question, but the question is California Special District Association. In my day life, I'm unfamiliar. And there's a comment here that the chief might be reaching out to them. And I was wondering what the context might be.
Certainly. So the California Special District Association, similar to the League of California Cities or County Association for California, is a statewide agency, statewide entity that has memberships for special districts and resources for them. So the special district members on LAFCo may be very familiar with some of the resources that they have. But one of the things that we had talked about throughout the special study is capacity or trainings for the commissioners or for the district, whether it be help with resources for the website or access to information about how to obtain grants, or how to, best practices for budgeting. The representative for the local chapter of CSDA, the Special District Association, could certainly be a resource for Broadmoor when we identified a need for a lot of those resources. And so we had reached out to Broadmoor to see if they were interested in contacting them, because we have contact information for that local representation. So we then sent the Chief Connolly information about how to contact CSDA. So hopefully, I don't know the exact nature of what his request will be to them, but that was what some of our suggestions were, as to use them as a resource to help from the commission standpoint and from the agency standpoint.
It's good to hear, albeit, it's hard to be cheery at this point, but that is good to hear. The other question was regarding the voluntary investment pool. Have they been summarily dismissed from it at this point for dropping under 250, or can you give us a bit of a status on that?
I am not aware of any change to their involvement in the pool at this time. So I believe they are still a member, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I have the pleasure of sitting on the Treasurer's Oversight Committee, and Sandy gave that update. The treasurer gave that update yesterday, and they're still in the county pool. And I'm going to give an update at the end of this meeting about the policy that she's drafting that'll affect special districts in general.
I appreciate that. It's confusing to me, as again something that I don't really utilize in my day life to understand how it is they could possibly still be in it at this point. And those are all my questions. I see. Ray,
yeah, I actually don't understand why they're still in the pool. So is there a reason why they've been left in the pool that that has been shared?
I don't know if it's inside information, so to speak, but I might as well just say this now. So the way that the treasurer, and I think county council has been helping with this, is trying to figure out how to provide like even banking services kind of at a retail level for special districts, because they're smaller, is that she's going to put together a separate pool from the investment pool, which as I call it, like a banking pool or service pool. And so special districts like Broadmoor that would fall at that below the $250,000 level would go into that pool. And any other special district that would like to go into that pool can voluntarily go into that pool and get out of the investment pool. So they're basically going to be two pools. One is the investment pool, and for lack of a better term, I call the other one like the banking pool, because they're going to help provide that kind of service, like check disbursements, things like that. The ROI for that smaller, or the quote unquote banking pool, is going to be lower, because it's going to have more short-term liquidity, because it's going to be more short-term type of money, the purposes for money that's in the account. But That is currently what she's drafting, that she, I think, plans to present to the Board of Supervisors, to have this put on the agenda in January. So right now that's kind of where she is. I asked for, because this meeting was just yesterday, I asked for a notice requirement for the special districts that kind of fall into this particular category. And so she's just drafting all of this right now. So if there's any input that y'all want to give it to her or give it to me or county council. But that's all I know right now, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have a concern, candidly, and that's that my understanding for the $250,000 threshold was so that if an entity had liabilities that passed the zero amount, that they would not be drawing upon the assets of the county or other special districts. And so to move them into a different pool still does not satisfy the issue that they would be drawing down upon from the resources of other special districts or the county. And so I'm not sure how two pools makes up for that.
I think part of her intent, and again, this is, don't shoot the messenger. This is the report I was going to give. But I think what her intent is to take these potentially struggling special districts out of the investment pool so that it doesn't drag down the ROI for everybody that's in the investment pool.
Yeah. I don't see how
I'm just saying that she wants to, in these smaller quote unquote banking service type of pool, she's going to have sub accounts for any of the special districts that voluntarily want to use this. But those special districts that fall under the 250,000 threshold would go into that. So I think as she develops the policy, y'all should ask these questions, because like I said, I think it's going to come to the Board of Supervisors in January. So I don't know, Tim, I know that she was working with county council on this. Do you know anything about this? Is there anything you would like to add? Maybe you might have some another light to shed on this.
There are others in the county attorney's office that have been working with the treasurer on the issue. I really don't have much in the way of information to offer today.
Perhaps we should ask staff to investigate a little bit more on this. We're kind of married to special districts on this board. And if something really substantial like how they're doing their banking changes, we probably ought to be up on it.
Certainly, we can follow up the treasurer's office and have a report back to the commission.
I would appreciate that very much. Thank you, Virginia. Okay, are there any other questions of staff? Well, I may regret this, but this issue woke me up at 3 o'clock this morning, and I got up and I wrote this. Although I did not physically attend the Board of Supervisors meeting of October 17th, 2023, I watched the relevant portion of the video and feel compelled to comment on a remark by District 5 Supervisor with regard to the Commission's actions and intentions toward the Broadmoor Police Protection Special District. Special districts have a, special place in governance. They address the special needs of our county's residents. Shutting one down has never been this body's intention with any special district, and certainly not Broadmoor. Shutting it down is not good governance for the public. LAFCo is not, as some believe, in business of reversing the will of the people. We are in the business of protecting residents who use the services of special districts by reassuring them of the solidity of their districts with periodic reviews of their operations and report fact-based reports on their ability to complete their individual mission statements. LAFCo reports are based on available information and absent any emotional or political considerations, with the aim of honoring the will of the voters. I've been a trustee for the San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control Special Districts for 13 years and suffered through the aftermath of an embezzlement. Municipal service review proffered by LAFCo was a key in our roadmap to stabilizing the district with common sense policies and procedures. As a result, your mosquito district has been repeatedly honored by several institutions for good governance and financial stability over the last decade. This commission has made it abundantly and repeatedly clear to Broadmoor's management and their board that our efforts have been to protect the residents of Broadmoor with appropriate governance of their police protection district. We have not taken any vote to recommend dissolution. The commission has never indicated that the service provided by the district is in any way wanting. And the commission clearly understands the wish of the residents to retain their police force. This special district has been a topic of long discussion over many months by this commission and other watchdog or agencies across the past decade. We have been attempting to guide the district to adopt methods of success and growth. To this date, we have not seen any change in the basic governance of the district. Reducing expenses or using an influx of capital is a quick financial fix, but does not address the long-time real issue, which is poor governance. This commission recommended that the management obtain assistance from state organizations solely dedicated to the special district's governance on numerous occasions. I'm referring to CSDA, without success. This commission has requested internal documents such as certified financial reports and audit reports, strategic plans and the like, without success. In fact, the commission voted down my recommendation for a full municipal service review in order to allow the district to establish those policies and procedures common to other special districts in California, but without success. As it stands right now, we all know the district is virtually unable to meet their expenses, in part because the district management and the board chose to ignore this LAFCo's attempts at establishing common business practices. And I, for one, find it very disturbing that a member of the Board of Supervisors for San Mateo County would so blatantly accuse this commission of abandoning its core principles as stated above and just want us to shut it down. I thank you for your indulgence. Now I'm sure I'll hear from Mr. Canepa. Is there any other comments? Okay.
I just so the board knows at our meeting, I will share with Supervisor Canepa the thoughts of the commission on that issue. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Virginia?
Thank you for that, Katie. I just want to say that, when we were at the Cal LAFCo board, that one of the things that was stressed is that, at the end of the day, LAFCO is trying its best to serve the public, right? And, we're not going to try to get in front of everyone or, push or persuade, but at the end of the day, we're all here to serve the public. And so I appreciate your comments. And I think that people who have comments need to just keep in mind that reckless comments can actually have consequences. So thanks for your comments, Katie. I think at the end of the day, we all need to remember that we're all trying to serve the public in the best way possible.
Okay, thank you all for your questions and your comments. And we will now open the public comment for item 6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have one virtual hand raised, so I will call on Andrea Hall. Ms. Hall, go ahead.
Hi, Commissioners. I just want to thank you, the Commissioners and the staff for all of your continued hard work and attention to the extremely serious situation in Broadmoor. I just want to, this might be more of a question. I'm curious how I could get access to the audit report that Commissioner Mueller mentioned. I also find it concerning that apparently it's been ready for several months and yet is unavailable on the Broadmoor Police Association's website. My other comment is regarding the treasurer. I'm extremely concerned that the treasurer is making a special policy for Broadmoor. The treasurer lives in Broadmoor. I don't think this is a disinterested action by her. And to be honest, I intend on filing public records requests to find out what her motivations are in making a special policy just for Broadmoor, where she just happens to live. Again, I mean, I'm sorry that I wanted this to be a sort of more positive comment, but yeah, thank you again for all of your hard work. I see the rest of my time.
We have a comment from Commissioner Raleigh.
So I just want to address that this policy isn't going to just cover one special district. It's for all the special districts that she's proposing. And again, it's in its early draft stage. So she's taking suggestions and input as well. But this is not specifically carved out for Broadmoor. It's for all the special districts in the county.
Thanks for that clarification.
Thank you. And with that, Madam Chair, we have no further hands raised for item 7.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll close the public comment period. And if there are any other comments from the commissioners, now's the time. If not, we'll move on to item 7. And the legislative report. Sophie, are you going to give it? Oh, my thing hasn't worked on mine.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So this will be a short one. LAFCo is tracking 21 bills, no new ones, but I thought I'd give an update on AB 557, which was recently signed into law by Governor Newsom. This eliminates the current sunset date of 2023, end of 2023, for AB 361, which allowed legislative bodies to meet remotely during emergencies such as wildfires and earthquakes. That makes it unsafe to meet in person so long as the governor has declared a formal state of emergency. It also extends the requirement for legislative bodies to renew the authorization or the resolution affirming the need for remote meetings to 45 days instead of 30 days. So that is the only update today.
That concludes your report. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions about the legislative report? Okay. As such, we will now open the public comment period for this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And there are no virtual hands raised on Zoom and nobody wishing to speak in chambers for this item. Thank you.
Okay. As such, we will now close the public comment period for item number 7. And number 8 is Commissioner staff reports, information only. Anybody have a new baby or anything?
Very briefly, from staff is that last week, Commissioners Virginia Jane Corrali, Commissioners Big Stick, Commissioner Draper, and Sophia, myself, and Tim all attended the annual LAFCo conference in Monterey. It was a good conference overall. I think a lot of learning and lots of ideas that other LAFCos are doing and seeing how we can implement some of those, particularly around municipal service reviews and what is a municipal service review and what should we include in it, and thinking about how we go and look at municipal service reviews in the future and how we want to schedule them. So we may have an item in the near term that is brought to the commission as a study session item potentially to talk more about municipal service reviews going forward and our schedule for them here. But overall, it was a very good conference, and the next year's conference is in I would say it's Fish Camp outside of Yosemite, and if anyone is interested at that time. Yes, and I think they've had it there the last a few years ago as well.
What a nice place for a conference.
And they like to have the good for the full conferences with the commissioners. They always pick good places.
I'll tell you right now, I want to go. Okay. Anything else to share?
I just like to dovetail on that, and I want to go again next year too. Frankly, I didn't know what to expect going in. It was about as wonky as one might expect, but it was also really good to be saturated in it and get my brain better accustomed to what LAFCo really is. I found myself arriving quite late the evening that I arrived at the hotel. And as I was checking in, I was telling the person that I was attending this conference, to which she said, well, what's LAFCo? And then I found myself stumbling over my lived experience to try and give an adequate definition. And what preceded was 3 days of trained professionals referring to the obscure, powerful board that we are, emphasis on obscure. And I brought up a definition. The one thing that really somebody said that kind of clarified something, we stand for smart growth. That's the noodle that stuck to my brain. And that was the simplification I think I was looking for between special districts and jurisdictions. We stand for smart growth. So it was good having the opportunity not just to learn more about what LAFCo is, but about my colleagues, about our staff. It was a great opportunity. I would hope to open it up to even more than who attended this time, but I certainly, for one, would very much like to attend again. And thank you.
Did you have some comments?
Yeah. So I also attended the Cal LAFCo conference, and I thought it was excellent. And as Tiger said, it was kind of wonky, and I loved that. Right? It was really fun to be there and listen to examples of, you know, bad governance and great examples of good governance. I mean, it was excellent and very informative. The one thing that it's like what Rob said that they emphasized was the importance of the MSR and how that's a vehicle for LAFCo to help the agencies and, you know, consequently help the public, as you know, you've kind of rightly said, Haiti. So I want to emphasize that the MSR is a very important vehicle. One of the things that I got out of that conference with regard to the MSR is this whole thing of inclusivity. So I'm glad that the public member who spoke about Burlingame Hills kind of gave his input, because I think it's important for all the stakeholders to be involved with the MSR. And I think our staff has been really good about being inclusive, but I think it's a good reminder that, you know, special districts also have a place in governance and providing essential services. And at the end of the day, as Tiger said, there's a lot of public education that needs to revolve around how LAFCo is perceived and actually what it does and what it is. I mean, it can be, you know, a very important and constructive part of governance. So thank you for that opportunity. I'd love to go next year if I'm on this board again.
Okay.
One other note, Chair Martin, if I may, just as a reminder for our November meeting, it's November 15th. It'll be in the city of East Palo Alto at their city hall at 6 p.m. So it's different than our regular time. And we will send out reminders to the commission and obviously to the public ahead of that meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for reminding us of that. Okay. Anyone have any other? We have to open up public. All right. We will now open the public comment for item number 8.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And there's nobody wishing to speak in chambers and no virtual hands raised on Zoom for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. You are a real devotee of the Brown Act, aren't you? You're really up on it. That's good. Okay, is there any other business before us? If not, we will execute number 9 and adjourn. Thank you for bearing with me. This is a little bit different than what I do at the Mosquito District.
You were great. Thank you.